Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of my F122 Myteam modded career mode for the season finale here in Season 1. And we're just going to do some quick weight training, but we'll have a look at the championship standings then. Last race, Andretti Haas with Magnussen's P5, they pulled ahead of us in the Constructors, so we need to finish at least P7 this race, and for both Andretti Haas cars to finish out the points. We're also level on points with Magnussen in the drivers, so that's going to be an interesting dynamic as well. So yeah, we're going to have to see what happens. P7 is a big ask, but at this point in the season, a lot of the guys are going to have grid penalties and things like that, so never say never. We'll see what happens. Maybe we can just about rescue this championship, but there's nothing much in the way of admin to do, so let's go straight into qualifying. You can see I'm using a different camera. I'm using the onboard camera now. I just find I find it easier to drive with, basically. I find it easier to see my braking points, and the car just feels nicer in this camera for some reason. Maybe it's just because that's where I'm used to driving in some of the other sims, but we did a couple of back-to-back laps at the start of qualifying here in Q1. We're going out right at the death for one last final flyer to see where we go here at Australia, at Albert Park Circuit. The first time in about 30 years or something that Australia hosted the finale, but we've binned it on qualifying. That is not what we needed to do. Yeah, I'm my own worst enemy, really. I was trying to get good qualifying to obviously get the best chance for those points, but the most frustrating thing is, even if we didn't go out, we'd have still got P16 and got into Q2, so we didn't even need to go out on that last lap. And then I did, and I binned it, so that is extremely frustrating, but let's see what happens in the Grand Prix.
Hello and welcome from Melbourne, a track modified since we last raced here in Albert Park, and I think with the changes, it's going to be a classic. We're a stone's throw from the enormous Port Phillip Bay for today's race at the 3.28 mile Albert Park circuit. It's a bumpy racing surface here, and the 14 corners can prove especially difficult in the wet conditions. So watch out for a safety car at some point during this Grand Prix. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position. Sergio Perez lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Mick Schumacher, George Russell and Ricciardo, Verstappen, Ocon, Evans and Lando Norris, Bottas, Gasly, Fernando Alonso and Tsunoda. They've taken a grid penalty. Sato, Joe, Lance Stroll and Nicholas Latifi. Sainz, Albon, Magnussen. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Sebastian Vettel starts from the back of the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
So, as we said, plenty of grid penalties. We start in P9, so we have a good chance as those 5 red lights go out, and away we go for a very wet Albert Park circuit. We're here on the green wall intermediate tyres, so we're going to have to be a little bit careful on the race start here, getting a little bit sandwiched in. I think Norris trying to get up his inside there, and a little bit wayward on the rear. You can see the car, bit of a tank slapper there, but we managed to keep it in a straight line. We do let Norris pass though, but remember, our race isn't with them as we dive back up the inside of Verstappen there, and oh, massive squirm from the rear end there. I think we tapped the wall, but there doesn't seem to be any damage. So we're down in P10. We just need to settle in for these first couple of laps, I think, and not do anything too crazy. Schumacher is in P4, a few cars up the road of us, but he's got a lot of quicker guys behind. But as we come on to the end of lap 2, Latifi in a season finale bins his car, so that's typical Go Latifi, but it brings out a safety car, and that's going to help us out a little bit actually, because the front runners were running away from us a little bit. But as we go onto the race restart, then onto lap 6, so 4 laps under the safety car. I'm still struggling a little bit there, as you can see, a massive wash of understeer and then some oversteer, and we've got Bottas all in his mirrors now, so not the restart we wanted really. Thankfully he's not going to overtake us going into the right-hander. Again, still the rear end's just squirming all over the place. I did put the downforce a little bit higher than what I normally would to try and deal with this rain, obviously seeing it on the forecast, but we're still struggling a little bit. But it looks like we've managed to just settle down a little bit, get a feel for the rear of the car. Bottas gets a proper good exit out of that corner though, so he's going to look up as inside here maybe. No, it looks like he backs out, and that's going to invite that man Fernando Alonso into the fight with Bottas. We can take the normal racing line and pull away just a little bit, but look at that already, 2.5, nearly 3 seconds the gap to Norris. And as we come on to lap 7, we've now got Alonso up as inside. We try a bit of a switchback move, but there's just not much we can really do, and the gap to the points now, or the gap to Norris now, over 4 seconds, so yeah, not going too well in the early stages of this Grand Prix. But the good news is we kind of found a bit of a groove, found a bit of a rhythm, got a feel for these track conditions, and that meant as we skip forward to lap 10, I was actually keeping in touch with Alonso. He wasn't kind of driving off and losing me or anything, so that's pretty good news, as we take quite a lot of curb there. The FIA didn't see it would seem, but we're actually catching up to Norris, as you can see. And as we come into this corner, there's a yellow flag, and that's Lando Norris, I think, out of the session. So back into the points again. We've still got Schumacher a few cars up the road though, so what we need to do really is follow Alonso through. Now Alonso, as you can see, he's catching up to this next pack of cars, but I don't want to get involved in that. We're on lap 13, so we're going to come in for an early pit stop, 1 lap early, and maybe those guys in that little pack there are going to fight each other and slow each other up, and maybe we can jump 1 or 2 of them. That's the plan. If it's going to work, we're going to need a really good pit stop from the guys here, so let's see how they do. And that's 2.2 seconds, about a pretty perfect pit stop there from the guys, so that is exactly what we needed. So it's good to know that my team haven't given up on this championship fight for P6, neither have we, and we actually come out in last place, but that's okay. We would have had a little bit of clean air, or so I thought, but you can see we've got a little pack at the back of the grid having a bit of a scrap here, so we are going to get held up a little bit, which is less than ideal, as we're on lap 14. Then this is our out lap. The other guys who were just ahead of us, they'll be coming in, they'll be in the pits this lap and the lap after, as we go all the way around the outside of Vettel to the inside for the last corner. As you can see, a couple of cars in the pits then. There's Magnussen, Bottas, I think Zhou Guanyu's still up ahead of us. There's a Renault, and that's the Renault of Fernando Alonso, so we're just behind him going into the pits, and as he's come out, he's actually come out a couple of seconds ahead, or about 1.5 seconds ahead, so we didn't lose too much time to him. But the plan was to gain time, not lose it, as we try and make a move on Zhou Guanyu then, coming into this third sector of the track. See if we can get a move done on him, and we really need to catch back up to Alonso. So whether this plan has worked or not, the only way to find out is to see where all the other guys come out in the pits, so see what happens. We've actually gone purple in sector 1, so we've actually got quite a bit of pace, it would seem, as we nip up the inside of Zhou Guanyu, getting a pretty poor exit there out of the chicane, and That's allowed us to get past him quite easily then without losing too much time. Speaking of which, here's lap 15, so just up the road from us, there's Mick Schumacher. He was in 4th place, remember, and he's had a bit of trouble in the pits, and George Russell has jumped him in the pits, and there's Esteban Ocon right behind him. So yeah, Schumacher now down to P7 in this race. That's where we need to be, and you can see those guys are just coming out ahead of us. We actually get ahead of Sainz, and the 2 Renaults hold each other up. That's Ocon and Alonso as they just come out the pits. So now we have an opportunity maybe to gain a couple of positions, and we're going to go for a really late dive. Very narrowly miss Esteban Ocon, but we get the move done on Alonso, and it's all or nothing for us now. We've just got to go full send. If we don't go full send, we lose the championship. If we do go full send and crash out or make a mistake, then we also lose the championship. But if we go full send and we manage to make it work, there is a chance we can salvage this P6 in our championship fight. As we come on to lap 17, then we go for a really late lunge on Esteban Ocon, somehow to make it work, and there's Schumacher up ahead of us. We need that P7, but crucially, remember, we need the cars that are now behind us. So we've got Ocon and Sainz behind us. We need both of those cars to overtake Schumacher, and Alonso's behind us as well. We need those guys all to overtake Schumacher, so he finishes out of the points and we finish in P7. But it's not over yet, as Esteban Ocon gets a good launch out of that corner. He goes side by side, he's got his nose in. We will have the inside line for this chicane though, and we managed just to hold him at bay for now. But that's kind of a pointer for me to say you need to get a move on. You need to get past Schumacher, and from very far back we're going to send it up the inside, an absolute kamikaze dive bomb. But actually Ocon's followed us through there, so we're now up into P7 where we at least need to be, and we've got a car between us and Schumacher, and it's going to be a tall order to try and keep Ocon behind us. But we're just going to have to try. There's nothing else we can do. As we come on to lap 20 now, here's Carlos Sainz as he pulls to the outside of Schumacher. They're going to go side by side towards the end of the lap here into the tight right hander. Carlos Sainz is going to go all the way around the outside, and that's Schumacher down another position now, down into P10. So as it stands, us in P7, Schumacher in P10, we are level on points with Andretti Haas in this championship. And you can see here as we come on to lap 24, Ricciardo and Russell are having a bit of a scrap with each other, and that's allowed us to catch right back up to them. And you can see the gap behind as well to Ocon. We've actually pulled out a bit of a gap ahead of Ocon as Sainz has caught up to him now. So it's looking good for us. And as we come towards the end of lap 24 then, we're actually going to get the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, which is going to be one extra championship point, which means we're, as it stands in this race, we are 1 point clear of Andretti Haas in this championship. I think we've got the other Andretti Haas of Kevin Magnussen. He's right down the order as Ricciardo makes a mistake. That's let us get right onto the back of these two cars ahead of us, and if we can snag another position, we're gonna do it, as these two are slowing each other down. A bit of a squirm from Ricciardo. Here's my opportunity, a little bit of a gap up the inside of Russell. If you don't go for the gap, you're not a racing driver. And there we go, up into P6 now. And as I was saying about Magnussen, he's right down the order. So as far as the Drivers' Championship's concerned, we are going to have that P11. But we actually pick up some minor damage to the diffuser there as we hit the curb a little bit aggressively. But we come on to lap 27, the closing stages of this race. As it stands, we are going to beat Andretti Haas to that P6 in the Constructors, but we're not going to stop there as we get a little bit of a run on Ricciardo. I think he actually had a mechanical issue with his cars. That McLaren was going extremely slowly, and we're just going to make a nice overtake on him there. And that's now Russell right back up his rear wing, and if those two scrap, that could be us running away with P5, our best finish position in this championship. And what a way that'd be to end this championship season, this season 1 of our modded Myteam career mode. And you can see on lap 28 with Russell and Ricciardo scrapping. Again, we've got about a second gap, but at this point our tyres are a couple of laps older than those guys. You can see we're just kind of drifting it a little bit round that last corner. But as we come onto the end of the last lap, Ricciardo did close up to us again, but it's not really going to matter because we've only got 2 more corners to go to get P6 in the championship and to get P11 in the Drivers' Championship and to get us best finishing position of this entire first season of my modded Myteam career mode. And there it is. What a race and what a season this has been.
What a season. Great work this year, really great work. It's been hard at times, but we've come through it together. Well done.
So the celebrations begin, and well earned they are indeed. It might have looked simple at times, but as any racing driver will tell you, competing at this level at the very top is anything but simple. There's no catching them now then. We have a new World Drivers' Champion. While Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend, it's great to see them up on that podium once again.
So we didn't talk much about the Drivers' Championship, but Leclerc does pinch it. I mean, he was the favourite going into the race there. I think he were about 16 points ahead, and finishing on the podium just secures that. Hamilton with, I think, his second race win of the season, if I remember. I think he might have had one already this season. I don't quite remember, but there's the last podium celebration of this season. And what a mega season it's been. Well, go and look at the championship standings then, just for confirmation at the end here. As you can see, there is a confirmation of us finishing in P5, 10 championship points for us, and Schumacher down in P10. So he did still score a point, but we somehow managed to get right up into P5, and there you go then, P11 in the drivers ahead of Kevin Magnussen. And if we take a look at the constructor standings as well, there we are, P6. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Thank you very much for watching this episode and this season, guys. We'll be coming back soon with a second one. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, remember to leave a like, hit subscribe, maybe even leave a comment. What were your favourite, maybe a favourite moment of this season. But yeah, until next time, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you then.